discuss this theorem. The theorem says if you have any continuous function defined on rectangular region in R2, then that function is integrable. Okay, so let us start to prove this theorem. What will I do? I will consider a rectangle. Let D is equal to AB cross CD be a rectangle in R2. Okay, so I am considering a rectangle in R2. I will draw a diagram so you can easily understand. So suppose this is a rectangle we have AB cross CD. Okay, so then area of D, area is equal to, you know how to find the area of rectangle, length into breadth. So it will be B minus A into D minus C, that is area of rectangle. Okay, so after that we want a function. So let us consider, let F defined from D to R be a continuous function. So I am considering a continuous function on D. So f is a function, okay, f is a function from this D to R. R means real line. So we have this function which is continuous, and we have to prove that that function is Riemann integrable. To prove that f is R integrable or Riemann integrable. Okay, sorry, here we will say simply function is integrable. Function is integrable. When we talk about a function from R to R, then we call it as R integrable. But here simply we have to prove it is integrable. Okay, but actually we follow the same procedure. You remember in SY BSc we have studied that result. When we say the function is Riemann integrable, if UPF minus LPF is less than epsilon, then we say the function is Riemann integrable. So here we have to prove function is integrable. We have to do the same thing. What is our final target? Final target is to prove UPF minus LPF less than epsilon. So when we get difference between this upper sum and lower sum is less than epsilon, we will directly declare their function is integrable. Okay, so this is our final target. So let us consider epsilon first. We want epsilon there, na? So let epsilon greater than 0 be given. Okay, so let us recall what we have. We have a function which is continuous and defined on closed rectangle AB cross CD. So we have f is continuous on closed rectangle D. Okay, so when we any function defined on closed and bounded set, continuous function defined on closed and bounded set, then it is uniformly continuous. Getting? So we have a continuous function which is defined on closed and bounded set, therefore we can declare here f is uniformly continuous. So implies f is uniformly continuous on D. Do you know the definition of uniformly continuous? You know the definition of continuous, epsilon, delta ki definition. Similarly, we have a definition for uniform continuity also. So the definition says, therefore, for given epsilon, but already we have a epsilon somewhere, yes. So I will call it as for above epsilon. Therefore, for above epsilon greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0 such that, okay, we have a space here, so let me write it here, such that norm x minus y less than delta implies mod f of x minus f of y less than epsilon for all xy belongs to D. See, keep in your mind, I am writing xy, but these are not xy, these are not real numbers. These are elements of R2. So x must be x1, x2, y must be y1, y2. Okay. So for simplicity, I have written in that way. So that's why we have taken norm here, since that is an element of R2. Okay. So this is the definition of uniform continuity. Simply I use the definition of uniform continuity. But see, I'm going to do one adjustment. So that adjustment is, instead of epsilon, I am going to take epsilon by A. This is our adjustment. Okay. I will call it as equation number star. So this equation number star is very much important for us. Okay. We are going to use it later. Okay. So let us go further. See what I'm going to do. I'm going to take partition of D. Let P be the partition of D. Partition of D. So that means you know how to take partition of any rectangle. Getting, so DB partition of, okay, it's not regular, it's irregular partition. Getting partition of D will be like this. Okay, so this is a partition of D, such that I'm imposing one condition here, such that norm of P should be less than delta. So maybe you are thinking, what is norm of P? So norm of P, that means, see, because of this partition, many rectangles are created, having different diameters. If you think about this rectangle, it has this diameter. If you consider this rectangle, it has this diameter. So here we will have a largest diameter. For this rectangle, we will have a largest diameter. So whatever be its length, that is called norm of partition. Okay, that concept already we have studied in SYBSC, norm of partition. Okay, so here we have a maximum distance. So see, it should be less than delta. So that means where we have a maximum rectangle, its diameter should be less than delta. That means each diameter should be obviously less than delta. For example, if in your class, if I say tallest student of your class is less than 6 feet, then obviously each student of your class is less than 6 feet. Same thing is here. So maximum diameter should be less than, diagonal, my maximum diagonal should be less than delta. So that's why each diagonal should be less than delta. Okay. So this is less than delta. I will call it as double star. Okay. This partition P divides D into M into N subrectangles. Okay, subrectangles, as you can see here in a diagram. Say I'm calling them as Dij, where I running from 1 to N and J running from 1 to M. So as you can see here, so there are many subrectangles. So see Mn subrectangles, and each of them is Dij. That means D11, D12, D13 in this way, D21, D22, D23 in this way. Okay, so there is no more space, so you can make a screenshot of it. After that we will go further. Okay, so let us continue. See, function f is basically continuous on closed and bounded set. So therefore f is also bounded on domain D. So clearly I will mention, clearly f is bounded on D. Function is bounded on this domain D, or this rectangle D. That means it is bounded on each subrectangles, Dij. So implies f is bounded on each Dij. Function is bounded, that means it has it is upper bound as well as it has lower bound. So that's why we can find capital Mij and small mij. Capital Mij means supremum, where we get, and small mij means infimum, where we get. So therefore we can write capital Mij is equal to supremum of function f of x, such that x belongs to Dij, and small mij is equal to infimum of function where function x belongs to Dij. So see, function is bounded and it is continuous, so obviously it attains its bounds. Getting? And if attains its bounds. What is meaning of it? If attains its bounds, that means there is some point where the function has a maximum value, and there is some point where the function has a minimum value. Simple example I will give you. Suppose result, okay, of examination is declared. Then in your class there will be, if you consider all marks, okay, of all students, then there will be a, that means largest marks, and there will be some smallest marks. So definitely there will be at least one student in your class possessing highest mark, and definitely there will be at least one student in your class having lowest mark. So same thing is here. This is supremum, this is infimum. That means definitely there is some point where the function has maximum value, and definitely there is some point where the function has minimum value. Attains its bounds. Therefore, I can write there exists some aij, comma bij belongs to dij such that f of aij is equal to mij and f of bij is equal to small mij, and this is true for all I running from 1 to n, I running from 1 to n and j running from 1 to m. Okay, so see this thing we have. Okay, so see there is no space, so just let me clear this thing. After that we will continue. Okay, see here what we have here aij bij belongs to dij. Getting? See these 2 points line dij. So definitely distance between aij and dij. So that means norm aij minus bij should be less than or equal to diagonal, length of diagonal of dij. So that means length of diagonal of dij. I can give a simple example. Suppose there is room and there are two students, student A and student B. Suppose A and B, there are two students. So what will be the maximum distance between these two students? See, if A is in this corner of room, B is in that corner of room, then they will have a maximum distance between them. That is nothing but length of diagonal of that classroom. Getting? So same logic is here. Suppose Aij and Bij, both of them are lying in a same subrectangle. So what will be the maximum distance? Length of its diagonal, length of that diagonal. Okay, diagonal of Dij. See what is, see already we have mentioned somewhere, I think I removed that thing. So it is less than or equal to norm P. It is less than or equal to norm P. Since already I have told you norm P means what? The largest diagonal. Getting? So like diagonal of Dij is always less than or equal to norm P, since norm P is length of largest diagonal. So therefore what we get, norm Aij minus Bij less than or equal to norm P, but we have already written this is less than delta. Getting? Already in equation double star we have mentioned. So see, from double star, right? So therefore norm Aij minus Bij less than delta. Okay, so there is no more space. You can make a screenshot of it. After that we will go further. See, now I am applying equation star, then from star. See, you can go back in this video and watch this, what is equation star. So star says, if by star what can we write? Norm Aij minus Bij, if it is less than delta, then mod f of Aij minus f of Bij less than epsilon by A. So equation star says. Get it? So I will remove it. It is not required now. See, f of Aij means what? F of Aij means capital Mij, right? And f of Bij means small Mij, which is less than epsilon by A. So I will call it as equation triple star. Okay, so let us come back to our main point. What we have to prove? Function is integrable. Integrable, that means we have to prove UPF minus LPF less than epsilon. So let us start with that. So consider, I am going to consider UPF minus LPF. You know the definition of UPF? Summation capital Mij into area of Dij. This is definition, I running from 1 to n, j running from 1 to n. So this is definition of UPF. And what is definition of LPF? Here simply we take small Mij. There is no much difference. Area of Dij, I running from 1 to n, j running from 1 to m. Tell me, what can we take common? We can take common both summations, right? Summation, both summations we can take common. I running from 1 to n, j running from 1 to n. So what will you get? Mij minus small mij, and area of Dij also we can take common. But just now we have proved it is less than epsilon by. So this is equal to summation I running from 1 to n, j running from 1 to n, and it is less than epsilon by a area of Dij. Okay, but epsilon by is a constant, will come outside. So this is equal to epsilon by a will come outside, summation area of Dij. That means what we are doing actually? What we are doing? Area of Dij. We are adding all areas of Dij. See, we have a rectangle now, it's very small sub-rectangles. If you add area of all sub-rectangles, we will have an area of rectangle, right? Complete rectangle. So this is nothing but area of rectangle is A. So A will get cancelled and we will have epsilon, right? So I should write here less than, strictly less than, since we have less than epsilon by. So therefore what we get? Therefore UPF minus LPF. We started with this one, na? And what we have got? Less than epsilon, less than epsilon. So therefore f is integrable on D, integrable on D. So that means by using basic definition of integrity, we proved that function is integrable on D. So the proof is over here. You can make a screenshot of it. After that we will stop. Thank you. Bye bye.